Welcome all of you to the Kunstkraftwerk for the very first ArtSci Nexus meeting. I have a short introduction that I will make before we start with our lectures, our artist talks, workshops. We've already begun today at 9:30. There's two series of workshops going on downstairs. The Vibration Motors workshop with Peter Bosch from Bosch & Simmons is working along with Sergei Kostriko from St. Petersburg. Then in the basement, in the cellar, we have Mark Mattes working with John Lakava and Sasha Kudinsky. So they're going to join us when they're finished at around 11:30. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of how the next couple of days will be broken down. We have our full program here printed. If you turn to the page 8, you'll see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. These are representing all of the public programming. So they're generally half-an-hour slots. Each lecture presentation is approximately 20-25 minutes, with some opportunity for some questions and answers afterwards. We will take our lunch break at 12:30 till 1:30, and we have catering which will be here in-house, and that's Monday through Thursday. On Friday, we have a bit of a smaller group, so we'll probably just take a walk out to the Schminnerei and have lunch together there. So, first of all, it's important to thank our sponsors. Kulturstiftung Sachsen has been a great sponsor of the Kunstkraftwerk Kunstprogramm, art program, and they have now sponsored us in their socio-culture category for the education component of this meeting over the course of this week, as well as the workshops downstairs, as well as an additional set of workshops which will take place in August with hybrid bodies, with Alexa Wright and Andrew Carney, who are also here today. Kulturstiftung Sachsen is not the only partner. We also would like to thank Kulturamt Stadt Leipzig, which is a city partnership, as well as the Universität Leipzig, the Institute for Biomedical Statistics and Epidemiology, directed by Professor Dr. Markus Läufer, who's also the owner of the Kunstkraftwerk, so we'd like to thank him as well. One final thank you, in particular, is Dmitry Alexeyev and John Lakava, who developed the concept design of this workshop over the course of almost 1 year now. We've been emailing back and forth and Skyping and meeting in New York, and so I'd like to thank them. And then finally, Julie Martin, who is the wife of Billy Kluver, the late Billy Kluver, who has been a great support in our endeavor here. So, I'll begin now. The goal of the ArtSci Nexus is to become an open generator designed to produce annual phases of perpetual collaboration between the arts and sciences, operating outside of any specific institutional structure to which it is bound. The geographic fluidity of this network, its kind of orphan persona, has great emancipatory potential. As being based in collectivity, nomadic and peripheral, we are ensured that the integrity of the nexus is not undermined by commercial viability standards or market values, the pigeonholing of populism and mass consumption, nor gratuitously instrumentalized for the sometimes short-sighted development of city, regional, and national identities. Being mobile and without roots, without a home base, means that the nexus can remain independent of habitual assessment processes, which is often largely based on artificial numeric constructs, such as visitor counts and popular press as indicators of relevance or success. Each year, we can expand and contract, as our progress in this respect is about the flow of ideas, lateral communication as an alternative evaluation of social impact. Without borders and embracing global attitudes means that we can critically engage with a place and its people and each other, yet stand outside of the hard decisions that museums and institutions must make in the face of financial stress that often compromises their programmation, limiting their innovation in favor of the status quo. We can be free to concentrate on the process of the production of ideas and the meaning of the collaborative interaction itself, while exchanging and building knowledge. Collaborative aesthetics is more about listening than it is about making. Any objects or exhibition we will host should be simply a token or evidence of the dialogue which will take place here this week. In October 1966, 9 Evenings, Theater and Engineering was the beginning of a conversation that lasted decades. New York City's avant-garde and the experimental engineers at Bell Laboratories, an internationally acknowledged epicenter of telecommunications research, was brought together in Robert Rauschenberg's downtown loft in a very similar way as we do today. The invitation was not spontaneous or without forethought. It was, in a sense, the expansion of a collaborative relationship between Kluwer and Rauschenberg that had already been going on for 6 years. The 9 artists recruited were from their mutual circle of friends and colleagues: sound artist, musician John Cage and his pianist-composer David Tudor, Swedish artist Ovid Fahlström, visual theater artist Robert Whitman, the dancers Deborah and Alex Hay, Yvonne Reiner, Lucinda Child, and Steve Paxton from the loose performative collective known as Judson Dance Theater. The 10 artists and 30 engineers came from collaborative subcultures with similar values and practices that included open egalitarian approaches to experimentation, creative research, similar values and practices that included open egalitarian approaches to experimentation, similar values or discipline boundary crossing, respect for technology as a tool, and a project-basis approach to creative research and production. Influenced by cybernetic theory. Cybernetics, invented by mathematician Norbert Wiener, is the theory of connected communication systems of people, technology, and information, treating institutional frameworks as living organisms, social networks as webs of information, and the gathering and interpretation of information as the keys to understanding not only the technical, but also the natural and social worlds. After 9 months of scattered meetings, drawing up blueprints and discovering common languages, 9 Evenings, Theater and Engineering opened to an eager public in the 69th Regiment Armory in New York City. The space itself held the faint scent of the spectacular shock of its last major exhibition, notably Cubism's debut on the New York scene, 1913. The production of the works, installation, and performances were filled with failed experiments, explosive successes, an overall playful waking dream of endless creative possibilities. The continuation of this happening took the form of a nonprofit membership matchmaking platform, EAT, Experiments of Art and Technology, with international reach in local chapters. As a tribute to this monumental exhibition, 9 Evenings Revisited, in theory as in practice, stands apart from its predecessor because it involves cellular and molecular life scientists, physicists, and mathematicians rather than engineers, and therefore reflects the diversity and breadth of scientific culture. Represented here today are several artists and scientists from Germany, Sweden, the UK, Russia, the United States, and Canada. We will place emphasis on exploring the culture of information exchange, a rapidly evolving feature of the global research community and the world at large. We will incorporate bandwidth, parallelization, and big data as they apply to living systems and the study thereof, underscoring the symmetry between the behavior of researchers, the systems they study, and the tools they use to achieve this. The 50th year anniversary of 9 Evenings, Theater and Engineering is the landmark from which we are inspired and will begin something new. This think tank is the testing ground for the journey. In the next 5 days, we hope to challenge you as participants to expand the boundaries of your personal artistic practice and scientific research through the development of group compositions and engagement in this thought community. Important features of the Nexus include the elimination of strict notions of authorship and the maintenance of a non-hierarchical atmosphere, one based on mutual respect, shared responsibility, valuing each other's contributions equally, and your commitment to be open and receptive, to be willing to alter your perspectives, and even to be wrong. A commonality among historically influential collectives such as Kalte Kunst, Cobra, the Situationist International, Gorgona, Yes Men, Critical Art Ensemble, and EAT, among many others, is discord and cooperation, where individuals with independent and equally strong identities can share their experience to stitch together a common thread and research themes of mutual interest. Steve Paxson, one of the 10 original artists of 9 Evenings, stated, "We had become interested in the process we were involved in, which was the meeting, marrying, and mating of artists and scientists that was a kind of coupling, some form of, hopefully, a synergistic new wrinkle in artistic thought and scientific thought, that they would repel each other and attract each other in some strange dance, and we would get out of that the flowering, the explosion, the evolution of something for the future." This is a tangible opportunity for us to move from the dividing realms of two cultures towards a third, setting aside what makes us different, focusing on the blind spots, the vacuum, the white space between us, making them potential zones for overlap and integration. The range of distinct positions within this group does determine the complexity of the exchange. As artists and scientists, we will construct, dismantle, build anew, set aside, immerse, work through contradictions and ruptures. This dynamic will steer the works produced and curatorial direction of the whole. I have found that the nature of cultural exchange in such settings, such as we have here today, with a great range of minds sitting here among us, implicitly and explicitly addresses and founds new communities. This is a natural process. Those communities have the potential to respond to essential questions that face us today, and I imagine we will do so with great velocity and force. Art, in my opinion, by its very nature, by its very making, is a political act, despite artists being inextricably bound to the social context in which they create. As an object, as opposed to a process, art also functions as a vessel of creative capital, a secular commodity, an intellectual copyright, if or when it is shown and sold as a luxury good. This is the market element of our sector. I'm sure the scientific sector has similar end products. The relationship between the artist and the art world is one full of contradictions, discrepancies, heroism, and unfortunately exploitation. This is the reality of being an artist in a globalized world, one that in my program at the Kunstkraftwerk I try to work against and outside of. The abuse of free market capitalism as a democratic principle and neoliberal globalization has endangered our political process and cultural shaping. Its negative potential is the precipitation of new forms of alienation, marginalization, and cultural deterioration, not to mention environmental destruction, proving Francis Fukuyama's prediction of the supremacy of the market. Emancipatory politics, dedicated to humanitarian, civil, labor, religious, and gender rights, has been replaced by lifestyle politics, which is primarily focused on the individual, ignoring the development of a balanced and inclusive social system. This new orientation has essentially depoliticized citizens, as their affiliations and leanings have been trumped by consumerism. This has in turn affected the cultural sector as a positive initiator of social activism, innovation, and unity. The artist must champion an absence of cynicism when our utopic ideals fail, and I am certain scientists do so as well, and often with great humor and inexhaustible hope. Richard Hulsenbeck states in An Avantgarde, ein Geschichte des Dadaismus, art in its execution and direction is dependent on the time in which it lives, and artists are creatures of their epoch. The highest art will be that which, in its conscious content, presents thousandfold problems of the day, the art which has been visibly shattered by the explosions of last week, which is forever trying to collect its limbs after yesterday's crash. For the Bohemians, the Dadaists, Futurists, Constructivists, Surrealists, among many others, with their manifestos, ragtag newspapers, loose alliances with revolutionaries, often communist and socialist, the artist as an advocate and facilitator of social change, critique, reform, and restoration was a wholly accepted responsibility, inseparable from their aesthetic output, and it was often a collective endeavor, a movement. Through the application of utopian ideas of artistic production, of social fulfillment in a far-reaching critique of capitalist social organization, the artist is an essential voice in turbulent times. Collaborative work is a breeding ground for radical new ideas, a transgression of contemporary individualism. Similar to the art tech movement of the 60s and 70s, we are experiencing a time of both technical and social change. Similar issues are again relevant today and influence our practices. The civil rights movement, race politics, feminist and environmental politics, and political activism are as much present-day concerns as they were in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. Collaboration in our epoch is a polyphony of real, historical, and conditioned voices speaking of their common predicament in subjugating systems. I have faith in the idea that the great man theory of history is ending and is giving way to a global economy of networks, not hierarchies, and the spread of technology has created a knowledge society that demands teamwork and sharing. Collaboration as a part of worldwide socioeconomic processes within ever more pervasive communication-based technological systems changes the way we all live, work, and create. The creation of collective knowledge has the potential to quickly stretch beyond the capacity of one single person. As a closing remark, I will again quote Steve Paxton as a beginning point for us to work from. He stated, "From the beginning, if you have some curiosity about what would happen if you could do this, and then you share that curiosity with someone else and make him curious, then that's the beginning of the piece, and it grows and grows. The whole world then is the medium, if you can relate in your aesthetic to something other than the finished product." So let's begin the conversation.